Deep in the outer rim of the galaxy, where stars burned faintly against the dark void, a small blue planet struggled under the shadow of a great empire. Its forests were vast and green, its rivers sparkled like threads of silver under the light of its twin suns. Yet the life that thrived there lived in fear. This was Elithar, a world of peaceful creatures, simple and gentle, whose society had never known war. Until now, for decades, the Scifi, a ruthless alien race, had claimed control over countless systems, spreading fear wherever they went. Their ships were fast, their weapons deadly, and their discipline unmatched. Elithar had no army, no defenses, and no allies in the stars. They had only each other and the hope that someone somewhere might hear their cries. On Elithar, the Council of Elders gathered under the ancient canopy of the Silverwood Forest. Their leader, Thalin, a wise and calm figure, spoke with urgency. "We cannot hold them forever. Every day they take more of our land, more of our people. Soon there will be nothing left." His voice trembled, not from fear but from the weight of responsibility. One young elder, Lyra, stepped forward. Her eyes shone with determination. "We must call for help. Perhaps the universe still holds those who would hear us. Perhaps someone will come." The elders agreed, though fear lingered in their hearts. Using a combination of ancient Elitharian technology and their natural ability to amplify sound and light, they created a distress signal. It was not a weapon, not a threat, just a plea. A message that carried their hope into the black ocean of space. They activated the signal, and it shot like a silver arrow through the void. For years, Elithar had been silent, and they did not know if anyone would answer. But somewhere in the far reaches of human space, the signal was noticed. The Deathworlder fleet orbited a hostile planet in the Rendari expanse, known for its extreme storms and poisonous gases. These humans were unlike any other. Born and trained on worlds that would kill ordinary people, the Deathworlders had survived environments that no one else dared to enter. They were explorers, soldiers, and survivors all at once. Their ships were rugged, built to endure conditions where metal would twist and circuits would fail. Their minds were sharp, and their bodies were honed by years of facing death and winning. Aboard the flagship, HMS Vanguard, Captain Rena Valek stood before the command console. Watching the galaxy stretch out before her, her crew moved with precision, tending to sensors, engines, and communications. She was known for her calm in danger, for her ability to make decisions that others would fear. "Captain," said Lieutenant Corrin, her second in command, "we're picking up a signal. It's unusual. Coordinates point to the Elithar system." Rena raised an eyebrow, her gaze sharp. "Elithar?" She had heard the name only in legends and old star charts. "That system is deep in Scifi-controlled space." "It's a trap," Corrin shook his head. "It doesn't feel like a trap. It's a call for help. Someone is asking for us." Rena studied the signal. It was weak, almost fading into the background of the cosmic noise. But there was something about it. Something human. Something that made her pulse quicken. She had seen distress before in countless forms, but this was genuine. Desperate but not hopeless, she made her decision. "Prepare the fleet. We leave immediately. We go to Elithar." The announcement sent a ripple of energy through the crew. Some smiled at the thought of saving lives. Others tightened their fists, knowing the danger that awaited. The Scifi were not forgiving. They had never met humans, and they would not hesitate to destroy those who dared approach. Yet the Deathworlders thrived in danger. Survival was their nature, courage their habit. As the fleet prepared for hyperspace, Rena took a moment to observe her crew. Engineer Talos, who had rebuilt engines on planets with sulfur storms. Medic Sarah, who had treated wounds from alien poisons that would kill most species. Navigator Jax, who had plotted paths through black hole clusters. Each one had a story, each one a reason to survive, and together they formed a force no one in the galaxy could underestimate. The journey through Scifi space was not easy. Sensors picked up patrols, enormous ships with jagged edges and glowing weapons. The Scifi were hunters and humans were new prey, but the Deathworlders were clever. They used the darkness between stars, the radiation clouds, even the gravity of dead stars to slip past enemy detection. Human ingenuity turned impossible odds into survivable challenges. Meanwhile, on Elithar, Lyra watched the skies, unsure if the signal had reached anyone. Days turned into nights, and the twin suns of Elithar rose and fell like watchful eyes. Every shadow, every distant light raised hope and fear in equal measure. Could anyone come? Could anyone fight the Scifi and save them from extinction? Back on the Vanguard, Rena convened a meeting with her senior officers. "We are entering Scifi space," she said. Her voice was steady, commanding respect. "Our mission is simple. Reach Elithar, protect the people, and get out alive. We do not seek war, but we will not run from it either. Every crew member is expected to give their best. Humanity depends on it," the officers nodded. There was no fear in their eyes, only focus. This was why they were Deathworlders. Ordinary humans might have fled, but these humans thrived in danger. As the fleet moved deeper into Scifi territory, strange anomalies began to appear. Sensors picked up clusters of debris, remnants of ships that had disappeared decades ago. It was a warning, but the Deathworlders pressed on. Humans had faced worse. Planets that could strip their bones with acidic rains, storms that could crush metal hulls, predators that could tear through steel. They had survived, and they would survive again. The first glimpse of Elithar's system brought a quiet awe even to the hardened crew. The planet hung in space like a jewel, its forests glowing faintly under the light of distant stars. Its beauty contrasted sharply with the horror stories of the Scifi. This world was worth fighting for. Rena ordered the fleet to maintain a low orbit and scan the surface. Reports confirmed signs of Scifi occupation: small outposts, patrol drones, and weapons installations. Elithar was not undefended, but it was far from prepared for an invasion. "Prepare for landing," Rena said. "We go in small teams. We move fast, strike smart, and protect the people. No mistakes." As they prepared, the Elitharians themselves were beginning to notice something strange in their skies. Tiny specks moved against the black expanse, ships unlike any they had ever imagined. These ships were strong, built for battle and survival, yet moving with grace and purpose. Lyra's heart leapt. Could it be? Could it finally be help? She ran to Thalen. "Look, in the sky. They're coming." Thalen nodded slowly, hope and fear warring in his heart. "If these are the ones we prayed for, they carry our future with them." Back on the Vanguard, Captain Rena studied the planet below. "This is it," she said softly. "This is why humans survive where others cannot. Elithar needs us, and we are going to give everything to protect them. Humanity's strength is not in our weapons alone, but in our courage, our will to fight, and our refusal to give up." The fleet began its descent toward Elithar. Engines humming, lights cutting through the darkness. The crew was ready. The planet was ready. And in the shadows of the Scifi outposts, the first tremors of an impossible human force were about to make themselves known. Somewhere, deep in space, the universe listened. The Deathworlders had answered the cry for help, and when humanity decided to act, nothing, not even the fearsome Scifi, could stand in their way. The Deathworlder fleet moved silently through the black of Scifi-controlled space. Stars stretched endlessly on all sides, distant suns twinkling faintly like watchful eyes. Every moment was tense. Every shadow might hide Scifi patrols, waiting for intruders to make a mistake. Yet humans had always thrived in danger. Survival was their instinct, and ingenuity was their weapon. Captain Rena Valek stood on the bridge of HMS Vanguard, her gaze fixed on the starfield ahead. The Elithar system lay before them, a beacon of hope shrouded in risk. She had briefed her crew. Speed, stealth, and precision were their greatest allies. Any misstep and the Scifi would detect them, leaving no chance of survival. "Captain," said Navigator Jax, "scans show multiple patrol drones near the outer planets. We can't take the direct route without being detected." Rena considered the map displayed on the holographic console. Lines traced possible courses, weaving through asteroid fields and dead stars. "Then we take the shadows," she said. "We'll use the gravitational fields to hide our approach. Nothing fast enough to track us here. No mistakes, everyone." The crew moved with quiet efficiency, adjusting engines and shields. Humans had learned to adapt to impossible conditions, and the Deathworlders were the best examples of that. Their ships were not the largest or the most heavily armed, but they were clever, resilient, and nearly impossible to destroy in hostile environments. As they passed an asteroid belt, turbulence rocked the fleet. Giant rocks spun in chaotic orbits, glowing faintly under the light of a distant sun. Most species would have hesitated, slowing down to navigate the hazard. Not the Deathworlders. Their ships, reinforced with special alloys and magnetic shields, cut through the chaos with precision. Talos, the engineer, shouted over the bridge intercom. These rocks won't stop us. Hulls are holding steady. We'll be through in minutes. Indeed, minutes later, the fleet emerged unscathed, moving silently toward the inner systems of Elithar. But the danger was far from over. Sensors soon detected Scifi patrols in the system itself, sleek, deadly ships scanning for intruders. "Captain," said Lieutenant Corrin, "we have 2 patrols closing in. They're faster than us, but not as clever. We can evade if we act quickly." Rena's eyes narrowed. "Good. Prepare evasive maneuvers. Split the fleet into 2 groups. We draw them away from the planet. Elithar must not see battle above their heads." The fleet executed the plan with precision. Half the ships swooped to the left, skimming the edges of a glowing gas giant, using its storms to hide their presence. The other half, led by Rena, cut through a debris field, creating false sensor readings that confused the Scifi. It was a dance of strategy, a testament to human ingenuity in the face of impossible odds. Below, on Elithar, Lyra and the other elders watched the sky. Small flashes of light caught their eyes, but they could not identify what was coming. Still, hope surged in their hearts. Perhaps these were not just illusions, but the answers to their prayers. Back on the Vanguard, Rena monitored the fleet. "They're learning fast," she said, more to herself than anyone else. Scifi might be strong, but humans always find a way. As the fleet approached Elithar's orbit, the planet came into full view. Vast forests stretched across continents. Rivers glittered like silver threads, and the twin suns cast golden light across the world. It was beautiful, fragile, and completely unprepared for war. Suddenly, sensors picked up Scifi drones patrolling near the planet's surface. The Deathworlders would have to move carefully. Any premature attack could endanger the Elitharians below. "Captain, surface scans show weak defenses on the landing zones," said Corrin. "We could land small teams without triggering alarms, but the drones are still a risk." Rena nodded. "Then we go in small units. Speed and precision. Stick to the terrain. Protect the people first." She turned to the fleet-wide communicator. "All ships prepare for descent. Move fast, avoid detection. Elithar depends on us." The landing teams boarded shuttles, engines humming softly. Humans had trained for environments far deadlier than Elithar, but this mission required careful planning. The planet below might seem peaceful, but the Scifi had weapons hidden in forests and mountains. As the shuttles approached, the crew saw the first signs of destruction. Villages were abandoned, smoke rising from burned-out structures. Fields lay trampled, and small groups of Elitharians huddled in hiding. Some were injured, others terrified, but none had given up hope entirely. Lyra ran through the forest toward the first landing site, guided by instinct and the faint light of approaching ships. Her heart pounded as she heard the whir of engines and saw the silver shapes of human shuttles descending. This was the moment they had prayed for, the moment that might save their species from extinction. On the ground, the landing teams disembarked. Humans moved like shadows, silent and careful. They scanned the area, noting traps, patrol patterns, and the natural hazards of the environment. Elithar's terrain was strange to them, but humans adapted quickly. They used trees, rocks, and rivers as cover, moving toward the hidden groups of aliens. Talos, leading a small engineering team, worked to disable Scifi surveillance devices. Within minutes, sensors went dark, clearing paths for Elitharian civilians to escape safely. Sarah, the medic, moved among the frightened aliens, calming them and treating minor injuries. Every action, no matter how small, was critical. Meanwhile, Rena and her team scouted the Scifi positions. Using holographic maps and sensor readings, they identified the command outpost controlling the patrol drones. It was heavily guarded but not invincible. Humans had always excelled where brute force failed, and this mission would be no different. High above the planet, the rest of the fleet maintained orbit, ready to intervene if needed. They monitored Scifi communications, intercepting signals and feeding intelligence to the landing teams. Coordination between space and surface operations was precise, a dance of strategy and skill that showcased humanity's tactical brilliance. The first encounters were tense but brief. Small skirmishes erupted between landing teams and Scifi patrols, demonstrating human courage and adaptability. The Scifi underestimated their opponents, expecting fear and hesitation. Instead, they found humans who thought quickly, acted boldly, and survived where others would have fallen. Lyra watched as humans guided her people to safety, their actions almost magical to those who had never seen such discipline and bravery. She felt a mixture of awe and gratitude. For the first time, Eleutherians realized that help had truly arrived, and that their species might survive. As night fell over Eleuthar, the twin suns disappeared beyond the horizon, leaving the forest bathed in soft moonlight. The Scifi, though still present, had been slowed, confused, and disrupted. Humans had proven they could not be underestimated. Rena surveyed the situation from a ridge overlooking the landing zone. The Eleutherians were safe for now, thanks to the speed and skill of her crews. But the mission was far from over. The Scifi would retaliate, and the Deathworlders would need to be ready. She turned to Corin. They will come at us harder tomorrow. We've shown them what humans can do, but we cannot let our guard down. Prepare the fleet and the teams. We move at first light. Eleuthar's survival depends on us. Corin nodded. Aye, Captain. Humans will not fail. In the forest below, Eleutherians gathered in small groups guided by humans. They began to understand the power of teamwork, courage, and strategy. Under the protection of the Deathworlders, they learned how to hide, move, and survive. It was the first step toward reclaiming their world. And somewhere in the void, the Scifi fleet regrouped, unaware that they had encountered an enemy far more cunning and resilient than they expected. Humans had arrived, not as victims, but as a force that could endure, adapt, and triumph in the face of impossible odds. Captain Rena Valak looked out at Eleuthar, the planet shining like a jewel in the darkness. She felt the weight of responsibility, but also the thrill of purpose. Humanity had answered the call for help. They had stepped into danger without hesitation, and as the stars stretched endlessly around them, one truth became clear. When humans fought to protect the innocent, survival was never in doubt. The Deathworlder fleet had arrived. The Eleutherians had hope, and the Scifi would soon learn that underestimating humanity was their first and last mistake. The forests of Eleuthar were alive with quiet tension. Even in the soft glow of the twin moons, shadows moved with purpose. Humans had spread out, guiding the Eleutherians to safe zones, teaching them to hide and move without drawing attention. For most of the Eleutherians, this was the first time they had seen beings like humans, tall, strong, and fearless. Their movements were deliberate, their eyes sharp, and their presence commanding. Lyra watched as Captain Rena Valak stepped forward, extending a hand in greeting. "We are here to help you," Rena said. Her voice was calm but firm, carrying authority and reassurance. "You are not alone anymore." The Eleutherians hesitated. Many had never seen creatures capable of traveling the stars. Some were afraid of their weapons, others of their armor, and still others simply could not believe help had arrived. Yet the humans spoke gently, guiding the aliens through the forest to small clearings where they could gather safely. Rena knelt to meet the eyes of a young Eleutherian child. "You are safe now," she said. The child's wide eyes reflected the lights of the human ships above, a mixture of fear and awe. The humans had not come as conquerors, they had come as protectors. That truth spread quickly among the Eleutherians, igniting hope. Meanwhile, the Scifi patrols noticed the strange disturbances in their territory. Drones that had once patrolled freely now reported interference and unaccountable losses. The Scifi commanders were angry. Their usual tactics of intimidation and sheer firepower had failed. Someone or something was resisting them. Back in the forest, Rena surveyed the terrain. "These patrols are smart, but predictable. We can use the environment to our advantage. Eleuthar's forests are dense, its rivers swift, and the mountains steep. We'll lead the Scifi where they cannot use their strength." Her tactical team split into small squads, each led by experienced Deathworlders. Talos and his engineers set up makeshift traps using fallen logs, natural pits, and clever mechanisms. Medic Sarah moved among the Eleutherians, teaching them simple ways to evade detection and avoid injury. Every human action served a purpose, to protect life and maximize survival. As night deepened, the first skirmish occurred. A small Scifi patrol stumbled into one of the traps. Logs fell, snares tightened, and the aliens were slowed. The humans struck swiftly, disabling weapons without lethal force whenever possible. The Eleutherians watched in amazement as humans moved like shadows, precise and fearless, yet careful not to harm the planet or its people unnecessarily. Lyra stepped closer to Rena, her voice trembling with emotion. How are you doing this?" Rena smiled faintly. "We survive because we learn, we adapt. Danger is never the end for us, it is the beginning of what we can overcome." Word of human bravery spread quickly. Small groups of Eleutherians began to follow the humans, trusting their guidance and learning from their actions. This was the beginning of a partnership, a fusion of courage and intelligence that the Scifi could not anticipate. The following day, the humans decided to make contact with larger Eleutherian settlements. Using scouts, they discovered villages hidden deep in the forests where families had been living in constant fear. Rena led a team showing calm determination as they approached. The villagers were initially terrified. When Rena explained their purpose, a hush fell over the crowd. "We are here to protect you," she said. "Your people are not alone. Together we can survive this." Elder Thalon addressed the humans. "Your presence is a blessing we never imagined. Please teach us, guide us, and fight with us. We will do our part," Rena nodded. "We will. But first we need to understand your world. Knowledge is power, and Eleuthir has secrets even we must respect." The humans spent the next hours mapping the forests, rivers, and mountains. They learned the habits of the Scifi patrols, the timing of their movements, and the weak points in their defenses. Every observation added to their strategy. Humans were not only brave, they were methodical, analytical, and relentless in pursuit of survival. As they prepared for a larger operation, Rena gathered her officers. "The Scifi will respond," she said. "They will not ignore what we are doing. But humans are not just fighters, we are thinkers. We will outsmart them, not just overpower them." True to her prediction, Scifi forces soon reacted. A fleet of sleek ships appeared on the horizon, moving toward the forested landing zones. Their weapons glowed menacingly, scanning for life signs. The humans quickly moved Eleutherian civilians into hidden clearings, using rivers, caves, and thick vegetation as cover. Rena watched the Scifi approach, unshaken. "We've trained for this. Everyone knows their role. Humans do not panic and we do not retreat. Today Eleuthir sees what we are capable of." The first clash was sudden and chaotic. Scifi patrols attempted to land near the villages, expecting to scatter terrified Eleutherians. Instead, they were met with humans in full tactical coordination. Humans moved silently, disabling weapons, setting traps, and guiding Eleutherians to safety. The Scifi had underestimated both the humans' skill and their fearlessness. Talos and his team used environmental traps to slow the Scifi. Logs and rocks created barriers while clever devices disabled energy weapons temporarily. Sarah tended to injured Eleutherians, moving swiftly through dangerous zones to prevent casualties. Every action demonstrated a combination of courage, skill, and compassion, a balance the Scifi could not comprehend. Even when faced with overwhelming numbers, humans adapted. They used hit-and-run tactics, leading Scifi patrols into natural hazards and confusing their sensors with decoys. Eleutherians began to participate, learning quickly from their human allies. Together, they turned what seemed impossible into a strategy that could succeed. By nightfall, the forest was quiet again. The Scifi had been repelled for the time being, though they would return. The Eleutherians gathered around Rena and her officers, their faces filled with awe and gratitude. "Your people are extraordinary," Thalon said. "I have never seen courage like this." Rena shook her head. "You are extraordinary. We only survive because we learn, adapt, and fight together. Today you learned how to survive. Tomorrow you will learn how to fight." The humans spent the next hours training the Eleutherians, simple techniques for hiding. Moving silently and using the environment effectively became lessons in survival. Eleutherians watched carefully, absorbing every movement and instruction. Their fear was slowly replaced with confidence. They were learning not only to survive, but to endure and resist. High above the forest, the Scifi fleet regrouped. Their leaders were frustrated, their confidence shaken. They had expected weak and frightened prey. Instead, they had encountered humans who refused to die, and a species learning quickly how to fight back. Rena observed their movements from the ridge. "They think this is a simple hunt," she said. "But humans never make it simple for anyone. We survive where others fail. Eleuthir is safe tonight because we do not give up." In the forest below, Eleutherians began to see a new reality. The humans were not invincible, but they were unstoppable in their determination. Fear no longer ruled their hearts. Hope had returned, fragile but growing stronger with every lesson and every act of bravery. As the first light of dawn touched the forest canopy, humans and Eleutherians alike understood the truth. Survival was not just about hiding or fleeing. It was about courage, strategy, and unity. Together they had faced the Scifi and lived to see another day. Captain Rena Valek looked over Elithar, her heart steady and focused. The mission was far from over, but she had seen the first sparks of hope ignite. Humans and Elitharians would stand together. They would survive. And when the Scifi returned, they would face them not as victims, but as a force to be reckoned with. The forest, the planet, and the galaxy itself would soon learn that when humans acted, they did so with courage, intelligence, and a will to protect the innocent. Elithar was no longer a lost world. It had allies. It had defenders, and the Death Worlder fleet had arrived to ensure that this world would endure, no matter the cost. The dawn over Elithar brought a quiet tension. The forest seemed peaceful under the rising suns, but every shadow whispered of danger. The Scifi were not defeated, they were merely delayed. Captain Rena Valek knew this well. The humans had shown the Elitharians a glimmer of hope, but true victory required strategy, courage, and unity. Rena gathered her officers in the temporary command center, a clearing surrounded by thick trees. "The Scifi will return," she said, her voice calm but commanding. "They think they can take this planet easily. They are wrong. Today we strike, not just to survive but to turn the tide." Her officers nodded. Each one had faced impossible odds before, and each one knew the value of human ingenuity and determination. Talos checked equipment and traps, ensuring every device worked perfectly. Medic Sarah organized Elitharian volunteers, teaching them first aid and safe movement in combat zones. Navigator Jack studied Scifi patrol patterns, calculating the optimal times and routes for ambushes. Rena turned to the assembled Elitharians. "You have learned quickly," she said. "Now it is time to fight for your home. You do not fight alone. We are with you." The Elitharians exchanged nervous glances, but determination replaced fear. They had seen the humans in action. They had survived patrols, ambushes, and environmental hazards under human guidance. Now they were ready to fight. The plan was simple but daring. Small human teams would strike at the Scifi patrols, drawing them into traps while teaching Elitharian fighters to use the environment to their advantage. Using forests, rivers, and mountains, they would neutralize Scifi's strength without facing it head-on. As the first human squads moved out, the Scifi began their attack. Ships appeared in the sky, scanning the forest for life signs. Their landing craft descended near villages, expecting terrified civilians. Instead, they found humans and Elitharians waiting, prepared and confident. The humans moved with silent precision. Talos's traps activated, creating barriers and slowing Scifi advances. Logs fell, pits opened, and clever devices disabled weapons temporarily. The Scifi were caught off guard. They had never faced opponents who combined intelligence, courage, and adaptability in this way. On the ground, Elitharians followed human guidance. They learned quickly to move silently, use cover, and strike when opportunities appeared. Under Rena's leadership, the humans taught them not just to survive but to resist effectively. The Scifi found themselves facing an enemy they could not easily predict or crush. High above the forests, the Death Worlder fleet maintained orbit. They monitored Scifi communications, intercepted signals, and coordinated attacks with the teams below. The combination of humans in the air and on the ground created a web of strategy that was difficult for the Scifi to counter. The first major clash occurred near the Silver River, where a Ziffer landing team attempted to take control of a strategic bridge. Humans had anticipated this. Rena led a small strike team moving through dense foliage to flank the Scifi. Elitharian volunteers followed, guiding humans through hidden paths and shortcuts. The battle was intense but controlled. Humans struck quickly, disabling Scifi weapons and creating confusion among their ranks. Elitharians, inspired by their allies, joined the fight, using knowledge of the terrain to block escape routes and prevent reinforcements. The Scifi realized too late that they had underestimated both humans and Elitharians. Meanwhile, Talos and his engineers set traps along expected Scifi routes. Explosive nets, tripwires, and environmental hazards slowed reinforcements and protected the villages. Every trap was precise, minimizing harm to the planet while maximizing impact on the enemy. Rena moved with calm determination, coordinating attacks and adjusting strategy in real time. She spoke briefly to her officers through the comms. Keep pressure on them. Force them to make mistakes. Elithar must see that it is worth fighting for. Medic Sarah moved tirelessly among both humans and Elitharians, tending to injuries and ensuring morale stayed high. "Courage is not the absence of fear," she told a young Eleutherian fighter. "It is acting despite fear. Today you act with courage, and that will make all the difference." As the day progressed, the Scifi began to retreat in some areas, unable to handle the coordinated human Eleutherian defense. Small victories accumulated into momentum. Bridges were secured, villages cleared, and patrols disrupted. Each victory reinforced confidence in the Eleutherians, showing them that they could fight alongside humans and survive. The final stage of the operation focused on the Scifi command outpost in the Eastern Highlands. This facility coordinated patrols, weapon systems, and intelligence gathering. Disabling it would cripple the Scifi presence on Alethar. Rena led the strike personally, moving through rugged terrain with a small, elite team. Talos carried equipment to disable communications while Jax monitored Scifi sensor activity from a hidden ridge. Eleutherians provided guidance through hidden paths, helping the humans approach undetected. The attack was swift and decisive. Humans moved silently, using strategy and precision to disable defenses. Explosive devices targeted key systems without harming the surrounding environment. The Eleutherians supported them, guiding movements and helping to secure captured areas. The Scifi, though strong, could not match human adaptability. Every attempt to counter the human strategy was met with clever adjustments and calculated responses. The outpost was neutralized, its communications jammed, and its personnel captured or repelled. Rena surveyed the scene from the ridge. The outpost lay in ruins, its control systems silent. Scifi forces were retreating, confused and demoralized. Eleutherians cheered, not just for the victory but for the realization that their world could be defended. Thalon approached Rena, his face filled with gratitude. "You have done more than save us," he said. "You have shown us our own strength." "We will not forget this," Rena shook her head. "It is not just us. It is all of you. You fought, learned, and survived. Humans can guide, but courage must come from within. Today you found it." As night fell over Eleuthar, the forests were quiet again. Fires burned in controlled areas, signaling victory and safety to those nearby. Humans and Eleutherians alike tended to the wounded, repaired structures, and prepared for the possibility of further attacks. High above, the Deathworlder fleet observed the planet. Scifi ships lingered at the edges of the system, hesitant to re-engage after the coordinated resistance they had faced. Humans had demonstrated that they were not only survivors but strategists, capable of turning the tide even against superior forces. Rena looked down at Alethar, the planet glowing softly under the twin moons. "We have shown them what humans can do," she said. "But this is only the beginning. Eleuthar must be prepared for whatever comes next. Survival is not enough, we must ensure freedom." The Eleutherians, inspired by the humans, began to organize themselves. Villages coordinated with each other. Patrols were established and communication systems were set up using the knowledge shared by human engineers. They were no longer passive victims. They had learned, adapted, and found courage. Even as the Scifi regrouped in distant space, the message was clear. Eleuthar would not fall easily. Humans and Eleutherians together had created a force the enemy could not ignore. Every village defended, every patrol repelled, and every trap set demonstrated the indomitable spirit of life and the power of unity. Rena addressed her officers before nightfall. "Tomorrow we continue training and securing the planet. We have turned the tide, but victory is not complete until Alethar can defend itself. Humans are here to guide, but the Eleutherians must be the true protectors of their world." As the stars shone above, Elithar's forests whispered of survival and courage. Humans had arrived as strangers, but now they were heroes, teachers, and protectors. The Scifi had underestimated them, and that mistake would echo across the galaxy. The Deathworlder fleet had proven, once again, that humans could thrive where others would fail, endure where others would collapse, and inspire hope where it seemed impossible. Eluthar's liberation had begun, and the world would never be the same. When the Scifi returned, they would find a planet ready to resist, defended by humans and a species awakened to its own strength. Humanity had turned the tide, and Alethtar's future was no longer uncertain. The forest lay quiet, but the promise of tomorrow burned brightly. Humans and Eleutherians together would face whatever challenges awaited, proving that courage, intelligence, and unity could overcome even the deadliest foes. The morning sun rose over Alethar, spilling golden light across the forests and rivers. For the first time in decades, the planet seemed calm. The Scifi had retreated, their forces scattered and confused by the human-led resistance. Yet Captain Rena Valak knew that true victory was not in driving the enemy away once. It was in ensuring the safety and freedom of Elithar forever. Rena walked among the Elitharians, observing their faces. Children played cautiously near the edge of the forest, while adults worked to repair their villages. Fear had been replaced with determination. Humans had shown them that survival was not passive. It required courage, strategy, and unity. Elithar's people had learned to stand, and now they would learn to protect themselves. Today we begin rebuilding, Rena told her officers. We train, we organize, and we prepare for the future. Elithar must never again be helpless. Talos and his engineering teams worked alongside Elitharian craftsmen. Together they repaired structures, improved defenses, and built communication networks that could alert every village if danger approached. Human technology was carefully adapted to the planet, ensuring it did not harm the environment while giving Elithar a fighting chance against future attacks. Medic Sarah established field hospitals and taught Elitharian healers techniques to treat injuries caused by weapons, natural hazards, and environmental dangers. She emphasized resilience, the human ability to endure pain and recover quickly, and the importance of staying calm under pressure. The Elitharians absorbed every lesson, realizing that survival depended not just on weapons, but on knowledge and skill. Meanwhile, Rena worked with Navigator Jax to map Scifi patrol patterns in the surrounding systems. They calculated potential threats, identified weak points, and devised strategies to defend the planet preemptively. Humans had always been explorers and tacticians, turning intelligence into survival, and now they applied the same principles to Elithar. As the day progressed, a celebration began to take shape. The Elitharians gathered in the main clearing near the Silver River, bringing food, gifts, and symbols of thanks. They had never expected help from the stars, yet here were beings who had risked everything for their survival. Thalen stepped forward to address the gathering. These humans are not just our saviors, he said. They are our teachers and allies. We have learned courage, strategy, and hope from them. We are no longer alone in the universe. Rena stepped forward as well. We came because Elithar sent a cry for help. But we stay because we believe in your future. Humanity does not turn away from those in need. We fight not for glory, but to protect life and ensure freedom. The Elitharians cheered, their spirits lifted. They had faced the Scifi, survived impossible odds, and learned that their own courage was stronger than they had ever imagined. With humans guiding them, they were no longer prey. They were defenders of their world. The following days were filled with preparation. Elitharians trained under human supervision, learning tactics, survival skills, and teamwork. They practiced using terrain to their advantage, moving silently through forests, crossing rivers without being detected, and setting traps to protect villages. Humans emphasized creativity and adaptation, teaching the aliens that every challenge had a solution if they thought carefully and worked together. High above Elithar, the Death Worlder fleet maintained orbit. Ships patrolled the skies, scanning for Scifi movements. The humans had not abandoned the planet. They had established a protective presence, ensuring that any returning forces would face immediate resistance. One evening, as the twin suns set, a scouting team reported distant Scifi ships approaching. Rena's eyes narrowed. They have regrouped, she said. But this time, Elithar is ready. She led her officers in coordinating a defense. Humans and Elitharians were now working as one force. Villages were connected through rapid communication systems, patrols moved with precision, and traps were set in every forested path and river crossing. The Scifi would find no easy targets. When the enemy ships entered Elithar's orbit, they expected chaos. Instead, they were met with a well-prepared planetary defense. Human ships engaged the attackers from above, using tactical maneuvers to avoid direct confrontation, while guiding Scifi forces into zones where Elitharian ground teams waited. The battle on the ground was a demonstration of unity and skill. Elitharians moved confidently, executing strategies taught by humans. Traps and ambushes slowed Scifi advances, while humans disabled weapons and guided civilians to safety. Every strike and maneuver was coordinated, showing that Elithar was no longer a helpless planet but a force capable of defending itself. Rena observed the battle from a ridge, her heart steady and focused. The Sci-Fi fought with aggression, but human strategy and Eleutherian courage overwhelmed them. Small skirmishes turned into controlled victories, and the Sci-Fi realized that the planet they once considered prey was now defended by a united, intelligent, and fearless force. Talos's traps disabled several Sci-Fi transport ships, while Sarah's field medics ensured that injuries were treated quickly, maintaining morale among the Eleutherians. Jax coordinated movements between the orbiting fleet and ground teams, ensuring that every action was precise and effective. By nightfall, the Sci-Fi forces had been repelled completely. Their retreat was chaotic, their confidence shattered. Eleuthar had survived, not by luck but by courage, intelligence, and unity. Humans had taught the aliens not just to survive, but to fight and win. The aftermath was one of quiet celebration. Villages lit small fires. Children ran through fields safely, and adults shared stories of bravery. Eleutherians now understood that humans were not just warriors, they were teachers, leaders, and allies. Humanity had shown them a path to independence, resilience, and hope. Thalin approached Rena, his eyes filled with gratitude. You came from the stars and saved us, but you also gave us the tools to save ourselves. How can we ever thank you? Rena smiled. By surviving, by protecting this world, by proving that courage and intelligence can overcome any challenge. That is all the thanks we need. As the night deepened, humans and Eleutherians looked toward the stars. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers and unknowns, but Eleuthar had become a symbol of what courage and unity could achieve. Humans had shown that even in the deadliest places, survival and victory were possible. Eleuthar had become a new home, not just a planet, but a beacon of hope. In the weeks that followed, humans helped establish permanent communication outposts, defensive structures, and training centers. Eleutherians became proficient in survival tactics, weapon handling, and environmental strategy. They were no longer passive victims. They were warriors in their own right, capable of defending their world alongside humans. The Deathworlder fleet, while preparing to leave, maintained a protective presence. Humans had always been explorers and defenders, and this mission was no different. They had come to answer a cry for help, and they would not abandon the allies they had guided. Before departing, Captain Rena addressed the Eleutherian Council one last time. You have learned quickly. You have fought bravely. Eleuthar is no longer defenseless. Remember what you have learned. Stand together, protect each other, and know that humanity will always answer the call of those in need. Lyra stepped forward, her eyes shining. You have given us more than protection. You have given us hope, courage, and the knowledge that we are capable of defending our own world. We will never forget this. Rena placed a hand on Lyra's shoulder. Hope is powerful. Courage is stronger. And together, you will survive anything. As the vanguard and the rest of the fleet lifted off, Elithar's people watched from the forests and rivers. The humans were leaving physically, but their presence, guidance, and lessons remained. Eleuthar had been transformed from a vulnerable world into a planet capable of defending itself. High above, the Sci-Fi fleet was far beyond the system. Having learned a hard lesson, humans were not just survivors, they were warriors, thinkers, and protectors. Underestimating them had been their gravest mistake. Captain Rena Valak looked out from the vanguard as Eleuthar shrank behind them. This is why humans survive, she said softly. Because we fight for what is right, adapt to every challenge, and protect those who cannot protect themselves. Eleuthar will endure, and humanity will always rise to the call. And so Eleuthar entered a new era. Humans had not just saved a planet, they had inspired a species to stand, to fight, and to believe in its own strength. When the Sci-Fi returned, they would find not prey but a united world ready to resist. The Deathworlder fleet had proven, once again, that humanity's courage, intelligence, and compassion were forces that could shape the galaxy. The Eleutherians looked to the stars with hope, knowing that when the universe cried out, humans would answer, and humanity, as always, would rise to protect, to teach, and to survive. Eleuthar was free. Humanity had arrived, and a new alliance had been forged, one that would endure for generations to come.